Okay, so the next step is adding in a map of our area of interest and then georeferencing it. So we have a JPEG file, we're going to add it and then add the coordinates for it. And so what you need to do is you go to the top here, there's this orange diamond with, or yellow diamond with a black plus on it. If you hover your mouse on top, it should say add data. So you're going to, if you click on the drop down arrow, you can see there's several options. We're going to take the first one, say add data. And so you need to add the file where your or the folder where your data is. And so you can see when you click on this drop down menu here, it doesn't show you the basic file structure of the computer. You physically got to go add the folder where you save the data for this project. And so you go to the right hand side here to this folder with a plus on top of it. You can see it says connected folder, click on it. And now you've got to navigate to where this folder is. So hopefully you've put it on under documents in a folder with your name on it. Mine is quite complicated, so give me a minute to get to. Okay, almost there. Okay, and so either you're going to click on this Geo 7033 or this ArcGIS Macmillan, click on either of those and click OK. And so what it does is it adds that folder into here so we can access the information. And so yours should come up immediately. Okay, this is the one here. So if you're at this level of the file structure, you're going to go into ArcGIS Macmillans, double click on it. And this JPEG file here, we're going to load this in. If you by chance double click on it, you'll see band 1, 2, 3. If you've gone this far, it's too far, go up a level, click on it and click add. And click OK. Okay, so we've loaded the image, but you'll see at the bottom here, if you look in the bottom right hand corner, there's east and south and there's degrees, minutes, seconds. So you can see the values there on 1,000, so it's obviously not a georeferenced image. We would expect for South Africa is 27 south, like 20, am I going to get it wrong, 24 east, somewhere around there. And even if this isn't South Africa, it's just north of us, so it should be similar values. So something is not wrong. Well, we know what's wrong. It hasn't been georeferenced. And so the first thing you've got to do is add the georeferencing menu. I've got mine up here, but how I loaded it is you go to Customize, Toolbars, and you'll go down here and click on georeferencing. As soon as you click on it, you should see the window here. Let me undock mine. If you want to add it to your menus here, you just click and drag on it and release it, and it adds it up here to your menus. And so we're going to be doing georeferencing. You can see there's other options here, but leave it on georeferencing. Make sure that Macmillan's eastgeology.jpg is selected. If it's not, it won't work. And then you'll see this first icon here says add control points. Next one says auto. We're not doing auto, we are going to add control points. So we're going to click on it. And now I need you to zoom in on your map. You can see on the left hand side here, just to the east of the north arrow, there's a cross and there's a south value and an east value. Zoom in here. So how are you going to do that? If you put your mouse on top of it and pull the scroll bar down, it'll zoom in automatically. Something else you can do is you can go to the top left here to the icons and click on the microscope, the plus. And once you click on it, you'll see what happens. You actually have to draw a square on the screen, let go, and it'll zoom in. Okay, I think possibly once you've done it, you lose the ability to create a control point, so you have to go back up to the top here and go add control point. So we know that this plus sign here is this exact coordinate, 27 degrees, 55 minutes and 30 seconds south, and 16 degrees, 46 minutes, 30 seconds east. So we are going to click on it. See, as soon as you click, there's a little green 1 there, and there's a line that comes off of it. We don't want to use this line. You can actually click and drag it to a point. So don't left click at this point. No left clicking. I want you to right click. So the opposite side to what you usually do, right click and go to input DMS of longitude and latitude. So we are going to type in the longitude and latitude. So you can see here, if you drag this to the side, this top one here is east and west, so it's this value. So it's going to be 16, 46, 30. Make sure east is selected. Sorry, I typed it wrong. And then latitude here is 27, 55, 30. And you make sure south is clicked. We're going to click OK. And if you zoom out, how you do that is you go up here and you click on this Earth button, or the World button. Not much has changed. And you can see, even if you put your mouse over it, the values down here have changed somewhat, but they're still not reasonable. And that's because you can't georeference on one point. You ideally should actually have 4, but in some cases like this, where we've got a square map, we're going to just use 2 points. And the second point we're going to use is this point down here in the south. I'm going to click on my plus microscope up here. I'm going to draw a box around it. It's going to zoom in for me. I'm going to repeat the procedure. I'm going to go up here to the georeferencing menu. I'm going to click on add control point. I'm going to click on top of that point. See, it's generator number 2. This is our second control point. Don't left click. Don't left click. Just right click and go input DMS that long. And so longitude here is 16, 47, 0. Make sure it's east. And latitude is 27, 56, also 0. Make sure it's south. Please always double check the values that you put in. Okay, and click OK. And now we've lost our map. Don't panic. If you go and click the Earth button again here, it zooms us into the map, and now if you put your mouse over the map, you can see your coordinates here are a lot more reasonable. You've got a 16 east and a 27 south. Can I just point out that in your PDF there is a different point that is highlighted for your second control point. They, in the PDF, uses this point down here by the Rosh Pinah fault. It doesn't matter which one you use, it has worked either way. This Rosh Pinah fault one is probably actually a better one to use because it's got a bit more space east-west wise from this first point. So let's use this as an example on how to delete a point. And so how you would delete a point, so maybe you've entered in something wrong, you would come up here to this table and you would go to View Link Table, click on it, and these are the 2 points you've just typed in. So I'm not happy with my second point. I'm going to click on it and I'm going to go up here to this. It doesn't always come up the name on top of it, but you can see a small red X. It's the, oh, it should say delete source probably. So it's the 4th one to the right of the open icon, and it's gone. And so you can see it's messed up our map, which is fine, don't stress. Close this table. So let's push the Earth button and it takes us back to our original view. And now I'm going to use this Rosh Pinah fault. So I'm going to click on the plus to zoom in and draw a square. There we are. Again, click on this icon here for add control point. And I click on top of it. Oh, and I almost left click, but I'm going to right click and go input. Okay, so it is eastings first, east first, 16, 47, 30, and latitudes 27, 56, 0. Make sure it's south and make sure it's east. Okay, and click OK, and it disappears, and click our Earth button again, and we found it now. Okay, and so now what we have is a georeference map. So let's save, because you should always save, because sometimes these projects become so big and you can never find them again. So save it in a place that makes sense to you, that you'll be able to find it later. Probably wherever you got the folder with the data, go and save it in there. So that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, and give it a decent name. Put your name in there, because if you have to hand this in as a assignment for marks, you need your name, and even your student number would be great. And then a description of what this is. ArcGIS assignment. You can add other information if you would like, and click save. You can see that the extension here is .mxd. click Save, and you'll see what happens. Instead of Untitled up here, it now lists your assignment name. Okay, so now we're going to load some contours on top of this. So the contours we're going to load have coordinates. And this is a way of checking you've georeferenced correctly, because if the contours lie perfectly on top of the map, you know you've georeferenced your map. So let's do that. You're going to click on your plus again to add data. You can see there's a folder here that says contours, and highlight for me I, J, and C. You can either click on I, hold down the Shift button on your keyboard and click on 3C, or if you want to highlight individual ones, you click on 2I, hold down Control on your keyboard, and then click on the ones that you want, and click Add. And you can see it has loaded them quite well. Each one is loaded in a different color, but you can see if you take it off and put it on again, it looks pretty good. So we have done a good job of georeferencing. I'm going to save again. Okay, so that's the end of the georeferencing section. There are several different ways to georeference. So this way that I showed you is if we had 2 points and we've got a perfectly square map and the 2 points were quite far away from each other. It would be quite pointless to use 2 points if you had one over here and one right next to it. It's not going to help. You want them at alternative ends of your map.